Oh, hello. Oh, I have to add myself to the stream. We're finally getting this done. I've been waiting to do this. I was trying to, when I was back on Admin Utopia, I was trying to do this for literally months. Never got the chance because that bullshit that happened there. But I'm finally doing this. Let me go tell him the stream. Ready? Okay. Oh, that's how you, okay, you hit the present button. Okay. That was just wondering. I'm just. All right. Yeah. All right. Ah, come on. Here we go. It's just being weird. Okay. I just gotta announce this, everyone. All right, let's get this going. Wait, is somebody? Oh, there it is. Hello.
Can you hear me? Okay, you can.
Yeah. Yes, you can. Yes, I can.
I can't do it very long because I did agree to go in probably like in an hour.
Do it as long as you can. I'm gonna finish this today, though.
All right, I might do it for like a few minutes to about like 15 some minutes
Yeah,
because
this
I have to
is
take a shower and stuff.
doing this. I'm only doing this once.
Yeah. So what we're going to talk about?
Oh, the debate I was gonna show you previously. The debate between. What the fuck? Where did he go? I think. Oh, there he is. What happened? Your internet being stupid again? Hello? John? Come on. Just wonder if we can get back on. Are you there?
Yeah, it's real
Okay.
difficult
Are you gonna
to do this on a phone.
disconnect again, or
Not planning
okay?
to.
Fine now. Wait, you're not okay. So you're not gonna Okay, you're not playing. Okay, did you fix it? Or
I'm just not going to do nothing with my phone. Just keep it on this. Apparently,
okay, all right. Ready? Just got to get this moving. All
okay.
right. Okay. Okay. Do you see it?
It's loading.
Hey guys, welcome to Politically Provoked, an interactive podcast
Did you hear it?
Yeah, I hear it.
where we
Right.
host debates,
Here
panels,
we go.
and interviews. If this is your first time joining us, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well.
Might have skip the intro a little bit just to make things go quicker.
You can keep up with me over on Twitch. In the meantime, that's Superpower Broadcasting. As far as my political position, I'm pretty socially liberal, a little bit right of center on a lot of economic stuff, and I am very, very much proactive and hawkish in a foreign policy dimension in terms of assuring and securing Western liberal hegemony throughout the world, so that all people, regardless of where they're born, can be given the same opportunities and freedoms and rights as any of us that were privileged enough to be born in the West. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have Haas. How are you?
I'm doing good. You know what I'm saying?
Haas is like
Ready
Nick
to
Adams.
put some beta males in their
You get that
place.
reference?
You know what I mean?
Oh,
But
yeah.
you know, I'm hot.
You know, he's Nick Adams, the guy on Twitter who's calling himself an alpha male. Do you get that?
Yeah, I think I did.
All right.
Marxist Leninism in the age of multipolarity in the post-COVID world. Never paid anyone in my life to debate, but Kevin made that up. We're going to address that claim too. Basically, my position is basically this. So we're entering a multipolar era, right? It's not about morality, about what we should or shouldn't do. It's about, can you wake up and get with the program, or are you going to keep coping like our friend Kevin Castley? So Kevin, actually, me and Kevin, let me get some background story. We actually have a history of some sort, right?
Step back at what he just said there. Did he just say that morality doesn't matter?
I believe so.
Yeah,
You know,
it's just like, okay, that's stupid because like you can like say that America's foreign policy is wrong, but like saying morality doesn't matter at all in foreign policy, it's fucking insane.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like my other question is like if there was a nation, I'm just like wondering. My question for Haas here is like so I'm not a communist, but he is. Like if a nation like began to become more powerful, if a nation was like not communist, and they like began to they were like capitalists or corporatists, and they like began influencing their neighbors to like change from communism to those other systems, and they were doing it rapidly, like would he allow that? Or like if like or actually probably better comparison is like what if like a capitalist nation like cooed a communist nation and everything, would he just sit there and multipolarity, like would you sit there and do it if you got overthrown? So what do you mean morality doesn't matter in foreign? I say that maybe like some people probably emphasize morality a little too much in foreign policy, but like that, it doesn't mean it doesn't matter. But like
stopping a genocide or something.
Yeah, of course. There are definitely times when morality matters in foreign policy. Like, but like, I guess that like, but you do have to be realistic to an extent on what you pursue in that morality. You can't just see a bad thing happen and instantly go out with no plan and try to stop it. But saying morality doesn't matter is ridiculous. All right, let's go.
So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna break it down like this. Kevin and his 5 friends, right? He's a 2-viewer Andy, right? So he's like nobody. So his 5 friends were harassing me all day, like endless.
Pause there for a second. John, you with me?
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, so Haas is actually wrong here, and or at least like to an extent. Like, first of all, I don't think Kevin Castley's really that much less popular than Haas. Like, if you see, and here's the other thing. The other thing is that I was actually told this when I was in Anime Utopia by a couple of people who used to be with him. Kevin Castley actually used to be a pretty decently big channel. But he lost a lot of his fans because I think he threatened to dox them or whatever. It was like he used to be like a neocon, then he stopped being a neocon. But I don't know. He's a lot bigger than he's made out to be. So let's move on.
Yeah.
Right, nonstop to debate me. And I had a protocol in place. You got to debate the Discord first because the Sansol guy, he was doing fucked up shit. So he made us put that in place. So I finally agreed to debate him. And then he wanted to watch CNN instead. So he lost his opportunity. He lost his chance. But not only did he say he's going to debate me, he said he's going to dictate the terms. But you know what I mean? Like, what leverage does he have? He's a 2-viewer Andy. Nobody even knows who he is.
Seems pretty screwed up if you want to dictate the terms of the debate. That seems like a way to rig it.
Yeah.
So it ended there. He basically took the L. He ran away from me. But I've been debating on Politically Provoked. I debate a whole lot of.
Would you say?
Well, 2 people debate. It should be agreed on to both parties on a set time and date, not like one person deciding it.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But like when, yeah, that seems like an opportunity to like rig it in your favor.
For relevant people, you know, does a very good job moderating. Does a very good job filtering people. So when I heard that he wanted to debate on this platform and he let go of his delusion that he was going to dictate platforms and that it was going to be on his show, I said, sure, why not? And here we are. And now we're going to see what Kevin is made of and whether all of that energy he was putting into all that time before and on Twitter where he's typing with his hands on his keyboard, we're going to see what Kevin is really made of here. So I'm excited.
As opposed to typing with your feet, Haas?
Or how about speaking with voice?
Yeah, so how about we get over. I had a scheduled stream a week in advance, which we do every Saturday night.
I know you scheduled
we do every Saturday night. We do every Saturday night. Ghoul Gang Rising,
Kevin.
and I had Billy Bong as a special guest, and I had
sure you're very busy. Kevin, I'm sure you're very busy, but you're a 2-viewer Andy. You are in no position to dictate times and terms.
20,000. You at the time had less than 2,000, so they were about 10 times as big as you are. So even if I was going to be a tiger chasing clout, I'm still going with them. Not to mention, I'm not
got 2 views throughout the whole thing. It gave you 5.
Like 500 views, dude. So.
No.
Yeah.
How much live views?
Like, is that really good?
You got like you were having like 2.
True. That's not true. You had your gorillas in there. They were some of the viewers. But this is a long term. But this is a long term plan, right? It's a 50-year project. It's you don't get famous overnight, right?
Okay, for anyone who doesn't watch Haas, he's not calling him subhuman. He's that's like Haas's fan base.
Yeah.
Continue.
Like these whole get rich quick, get
America's
big quick.
probably not going to exist in 50 years. I don't know. Were you waiting 50 years to do this? Come on.
Well, not if America takes your advice, sure, but I think on that we might actually have a bit of common ground, which is that I'm arguing for how the West can best promote itself. You're arguing for how the West can or how to undermine the West. If I called you anti-Western, you're not even going to take that as an insult. So we're on different sides here.
It depends. So see, like, I'm against Western unipolarity and Western imperialism and neocolonialism, but as far as the Western people are concerned, living in Western countries, I'm not against them. I'm not against Western people. I think the best course of action for Western people is to get away from these foreign interventions and this unipolar and imperialist pretensions, which, as we can see in France and Germany with the civil unrest going on there, and as we can see in America with its own internal political turmoil, imperialism does not benefit Western people. Communists are people oriented. We don't hate any people. We think we want to do what's best for the people of each country. And for people in Western countries,
It doesn't always
this
end up that way.
American empire has been the bane of their existence. Deindustrialization, the opioid crisis. It's an era on its way out. You can keep coping, or you can wake up and smell the coffee.
So,
But like, how much out is America really? Like, America might be like weaker in somebody, but like, is America really gonna die? Like, who's gonna replace him? Who's gonna surpass America? Like, I don't see China doing
America
anything soon.
does fall in the next 50 years. A lot of countries are going to go down with us.
Yeah. Also, at the same time, like, who do I see surpassing America, or like, who do I see becoming its own world power? I mean, like, China is like dependent on American trade, so like, but they are like getting pretty close to America, but like, I don't think they're nowhere near surpassing us in any ways. I mean, even if China becomes bigger, like, America still has a lot of influence in the world.
Oh yeah,
I think the Ukraine,
China's going to hurt too.
The Russia-Ukraine war is actually probably going to reinforce that with because you see kind of a renewed enthusiasm for NATO, and with Finland now recently joining. It's clear the Russia-Ukraine war has kind of reinforced America's influence.
Yeah,
over Europe.
I know Russia's not a it's going to replace us because they're a second-rate power with a loud man.
Like neither is China. Like, China's about to experience a demographic collapse because their retarded policies in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah,
they're probably not going to be catching up to America anytime soon. I mean, and even if they beat America, like, seriously, even if they beat America in terms of total economy and military, we still have more allies than them, so we still are more powerful, like, realistically speaking. And also, like, China's military, from what I've heard, is not really the best. Like, they have a lot of troops and everything, but their equipment's not horrible, but it's pretty far behind, and their soldiers are like not very experienced, especially compared to the U.S. I mean, so to say, like, you can criticize America's foreign policy all you want. I understand, but the U.S. is probably not going anywhere for a long time as the global superpower.
So multipolarity is not a stable equilibrium. Unipolarity is stable. The question is, who's going to be the unipolar hegemon into the future? You have either Russia, China, you got communist China, fascist Russia, liberal America. Those are your...
Okay, Russia's not fascist. I would also have to point out that you still there?
I'm still here.
I think of anything, multipolarities. I disagree with Kevin Castley here pretty hard. I think if anything, multipolarity is like actually more stable, simply because there's like if any one country becomes so powerful that it's completely undefeatable, like, it's much more difficult to hold them accountable than if there are multiple big countries that can each check each other.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's probably a better system. Like, yes, it has gone into war throughout history, but like, I don't think a single country being hegemon to be much different, because everyone, like, a lot of people probably try to topple them.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to challenge Kevin Castley on that one.
Your three choices for all intents and purposes. So.
Okay, let's break that down. So you say unipolarity is stable. Okay, sorry. And then you're saying multipolarity is not stable, something that is coming into being now. Well,
they can both be unstable. But
don't interrupt me, Kevin. I didn't interrupt you, so don't interrupt me. We can play this ugly game.
Hey, John, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, I'm so sorry for doing this. I just, like, because your internet went out earlier, I just want to make sure and everything. So
I'm using my
another
phone.
Another thing I'm going to put of note here is that in history, like, The other thing you have to note is that, like, you could say that, World War One, like, multipolarity, like, you could say that, like, World War One happened because of this whole balance of power thing with multipolarity and there being multiple different great powers. I'd also have to point out throughout history there have been times of relative unipolarity. The one I could think of on top of my head was the Roman Empire, but like that didn't last forever. That eventually collapsed when other powers came to usurp them.
Yeah, when Rome started to crack up the scene.
Oh yeah. My point is that you can't really make a perfectly stable unipolar like empire. Like it's never worked throughout history. Like you have empires that like because let me just say this, but usually what happens like usually what happens is when a country becomes so powerful that it's completely. I mean, let's take Rome. Like they became the most powerful nation in the world, completely uncontestable, until and like what ended up happening is that they were so ahead that they kind of got lazy and they stopped. They corruption became more rampant. They didn't quite have as strong of a society, and then eventually everyone else caught up to them, and they also stopped really innovating as much and everything. Eventually, everyone else caught up to them in technology, and then they beat the fuck out of them, and then they collapsed. And where's the remaining Roman nation? Like Italy, you could say Italy, but like Italy's not even really Roman. They're kind of Germanized. They consider themselves it, but they're not really like ethnically Roman. It really isn't a stable remnant of the Roman Empire. I think the one of the most claims like San Marino, which just comes to show like not exactly stable. Like you can't really have this like super empire that lasts forever, and also expected to always be competent.
Yeah, the Roman DNA has probably been basically bred out.
Yep.
Over millennia of, other peoples moving in, and you have those Germanic peoples like the Visigoths and all that stuff. I can't remember which one that moved in. I think it was the Ostrogoths. I can't remember off the top of my head at the moment, but they came in, they settled in. They was in there since the fall of Rome, and over a few centuries, that's going to be bred out.
Yep.
You won't win. So, Kevin, you American unipolarity you claim is stable, which is patently false. It's the number one source of geopolitical instability in the modern world as of now. Now, we don't know what kind of stability a multipolar order is going to have, but what we do know is that neither China nor Russia, whether it's from the perspective of their immediate self-interest, which is what we're talking about, or I know you're cynical. Most people are cynical. They don't buy it. Is from the perspective of a moral and value and traditional perspective. Whichever way you look from it, they have no ambitions to adopt the mantle of American unipolarity. Actually, Chinese theorists have talked about how American unipolarity is the very source of America's demise. It's a contradiction. An imminent contradiction that has led to the deindustrialization of America and has led to the current political crisis within America. Chinese thinkers are very, very well attuned to that fact, and they do not want to seize the mantle of American unipolarity because they know the ultimate consequence of that would be the destruction of their own country internally. So they focus on an internal developmentalist model, and then on the economic level, win-win agreements between sovereign countries.
Okay, pause it there. I think China does, though, if they want to usurp America.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's why they're building all this infrastructure shit into Europe, and that's why they're putting so much money into Africa. Like China wants that. They want to surpass America. Like why do they not want to become hegemon? I'm pretty sure that's literally their goal. I think he is right about Russia, though. I think Russia just kind of wants to be in their own area and everything.
Bully their neighbors.
Yeah. I think that Russia is like very isolationist at the moment. I think that, I mean, you don't say that during the Soviet era. I think that, well, you can say that maybe during the Soviet era, to some extent, they did want to become become hegemon.
Oh, they was a hegemon. It's just, they had their own hegemonies and we had ours.
Yeah, it's also cool, but like, they say that like I think for the Soviet Union, they did want to become. I think that like they had a different strategy. I'm talking about under Stalin, they had a different strategy for like gaining hegemony. Like I think that like I think for most of his life, Stalin was. I think it was two types of school in the Soviet Union. One was Trotsky, who just wanted to immediately go to war with the entire world and hope it works. And then there was Stalin, who
Stalin
wanted
was
to
more
make
of
the
an
Soviet Union
internal.
more strong.
Yeah.
Stalin was more let's internally develop the Soviet Union into a powerful country so other countries will adopt socialism.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what he wanted, and Trotsky wanted that. So like actually I'd say that like maybe the USSR did want hegemony. It's just that like maybe in a different way. I'm actually not really sure about modern Russia, but I think if anything, Putin just wants to recreate the Soviet Union and then just like stay there. I don't think they really want hegemony.
They want to probably restore former territories,
Yeah,
then probably get a hegemony with the remaining neighbors.
yeah. I mean, but
Then go from there.
but at the same time, they do support like this. They did support put troops in Syria though.
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
Well,
yeah.
and there's some things that Russia and China both jointly agree on, and they both, I guess, have a share hegemony in some areas.
I mean, I would say if anything, maybe Russia. Like, I think that maybe Russia's support for some of the stuff might be like a react. They don't want America getting too powerful. That's why they do. That's why they kind of support these groups and everything. I don't know. I don't think Russia. I think Russia just wants to like recreate its empire and like be there. I don't know. I mean, actually, probably a better way of saying this. I don't think Russia wants to be a hegemon, but I do want to have allies like in the other countries. That's like that explains why they support Syria and like some nations in Africa and everything like that. All right, so let's move on.
No, with their actions, they make more enemies than allies.
Yes. All right, let's go.
Without encroaching on the sovereignty of any country. So it's simple as that.
So you think that
this was obviously made before Ukraine?
Yeah.
I also have to add that the reason that Russia and China, the reason that they really, or at least China, the reason China hasn't really invaded any other countries, well, they have historically. Like, I mean, look at Vietnam in the 70s. But like the reason is because like the U.S. would be them ever tried something on like Taiwan, for example.
Yeah.
The reason around invading other countries is because they're backed into a corner by the U.S. and their allies into not doing it.
And they did intervene in the Korean War.
Yep.
it was a win?
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying, but like the reason China doesn't do it now, they go around invading other countries simply because the U.S. and its allies have basically encircled them.
Yeah. They're doing it more through trade and investments in other countries now.
Yeah, that's mostly what they do. That's how they do it. Like,
that's why free trade is very important for the United States to maintain influence.
That too. Yeah.
Win-win when they ruin Sri Lanka's economy or Kenya or any of these countries where they
we
go
can actually
into.
talk about the Sri Lankan economy. What actually happened in the case of Sri Lanka is that Sri Lanka got itself into a hole because of the IMF and because of Western loans, and that the Sri Lankan government wanted to enter into a partnership with China concerning one port. And China's role in Sri Lanka's economy was completely minuscule. And yet foreign observers have harped on the case of Sri Lanka just because it's a case in which China has entered into an economic agreement with a country based on a port when that country's economy was in dire states because of its own government. It's not China's fault Sri Lanka has a shitty government. China's not going to impose its own good governance on other countries. So when countries have shitty governments, the Chinese will deal with them. It's not their business. They're not going to intervene and instill what they consider a preferable government. And that's true for Kenya. That's true for Africa. So
they just admit that they're going to openly deal with corrupt governments without knowing the consequences.
When China itself is a corrupt government.
Yeah, but it's just like, it's kind of funny. These types of people, like, these are the same people that like criticize the U.S. for like working with Pinochet, and they say, "Oh, we'll deal with whoever the hell they want, corrupt or not."
Mm-hmm.
If you think that deals between China and Africa aren't fair for African people, that's the business of those people. They should overthrow their government and renegotiate new terms. There's actually examples of this in history. When the Syriza government got into power in Greece, there was a really shitty deal with China.
Lol. So he expects people to just overthrow their governments if they don't like them, because he just says, "You still there?"
Yeah, I'm still here.
It's like, so he's just saying, so like, what is he saying here? He's saying that like, but like, that's kind of a weird, it's just like, he's talking as if it's a business that you can just not buy from. Like, you're literally overthrowing a government. Like, I don't think people should be expected to like, and I'm pretty sure that like a country should like seriously do something like. And like, I'm pretty sure a foreign country completely misusing money or like deals sent to you by your own country, it shouldn't be your problem. Like, couldn't they easily extract money out of your country and like funnel it into something? Why do you just allow that to sit there and fester?
Yeah.
And it's just like, you expect citizens to just, you expect everyone to not to like have the knowledge, and to like not only, you expect everyone in every country to overthrow their government in every situation. They may have the backing of for. I think it's ridiculous. Like, well, I think there are times when people should overthrow their government, but I think expecting that out of every situation like this is really stupid.
Overthrow them with just a slight disagreement, which could be just changed by just a change of elections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, to be fair, you can also vote them out, but a lot of these nations are like they're either like very corrupt democracies or dictatorships. So,
yeah,
in a third world.
Concerning the sale of a Greek port, and the Greek workers were not really getting much out of it. Syriza brought the Chinese officials and negotiated them on new terms in a way that benefited Greece. And the Chinese were very hospitable. They were very generous in giving the Greek government what they wanted. So again, it's not China's fault. It's these corrupt governments' fault. And it's the business of the people to attend to their own country, attend to their own government. It's not China's business.
I don't know anything about Greek. I don't know much about Greek politics, so I'm not going to comment on that one.
Only thing I know about Greece is that they had a high deficit, high debt compared to their GDP.
Yeah, but it's not really China's fault, though.
Yeah, it's poor
China takes
management
advantage of countries that have weak political leadership or big corruption, and they're very interested in buying off their support, like at the United Nations for recognition against Taiwan, for example. Sri Lanka and Kenya are two examples of where they basically got them indentured into these debt contracts where they knew that they wouldn't be able to actually pay it off for infrastructure they didn't really exactly need. And now China basically owns this port, and China's going to own the railway and everything over in Kenya. What it is it amounts to, you like to use the term imperialism, but what China's doing with the Belt and Road is Beijing-centric imperialism. It's infrastructure projects that really only China needs and it's touted as this win-win. But at the end of the day, the only people that win from it are corrupt politicians that sign the deals with the CCP and the Communist Party in China. You mentioned good governance. They're literally committing a genocide right now in Xinjiang, as well as running a police state that just banned video games, for example, and banned femboys.
Let's rein it in a little bit and go one by one, because this is a lot of claims. So the first thing you're talking about when it comes to China's exploitative and predatory relationship to corrupt and bad governments, this would make sense if it wasn't for the fact that China is continually offering poor countries debt relief. They just gave poor countries 2.1 billion in debt relief. China's been very understanding with these countries and their inability to pay off loans. And I can't see how you could describe that relationship as predatory, of China taking advantage whatsoever. I think China has been following its.
Would you say?
It's for expanding their hegemony. That's why they're doing this. It's not because they want to be nice.
It's just like, well, they're being nice specifically to expand their hegemony. Like, yeah. You think China's doing it out of the good of their hearts?
Oh no.
Yeah. I mean, just to be fair, the US is probably no different, but
basic ethics of its Confucian civilization, and basically coming to an understanding with other countries that, it's not
really. What does he mean by that? Like, I'm pretty sure the CCP basically destroyed most of the remnants of old Chinese culture.
They did.
The Cultural Revolution. So I don't
especially the early years.
Confucianism. I think if anything, if I remember, modern Japan is more influenced by Confucius than China.
I think China might have kept a little bit of the traditions, but anything tied to the old emperors and stuff, they probably got rid of.
Yeah.
Going to act like a savage barbarian like the Anglo-Saxon civilizations have, like Britain, which outright looted and completely took over and colonized countries and treated them like a pirate treats its booty.
With Britain, it's probably a little bit more complicated. Then it probably depends on the individual colony and the person in charge. But yeah, I would say Britain was overall pretty. Well, they're definitely better than France, but like. I think there's a time when you really look at. I mean, also look at a lot of British colonies are relatively better off compared to the colonies of other nations. Like even like, not like the. I'm not counting like the U.S. or Canada or Australia, New Zealand, because those are mostly settler colonies. I'm talking about like Singapore, Malaysia, and Botswana, and like I guess South Africa. I don't know about South Africa, but maybe like Botswana. And Singapore, Malaysia, like they're relatively better off when compared to like their other colonial nations. So who's to say they always? Let's say the British did pretty bad things when they were in colonies and everything, but
they did a lot of bad things, but they also brought a lot of good things with them too.
Yeah, and they also try to say that the reason that China never expanded is because they were like enlightened or something. Which is very stupid. It's just that like the reason they never did that was because China was like very far isolated from the European powers, and they had like a ton of people and like resources for the time, and they thought they were just the most powerful nation and had no need to expand. That's why China never like got colonies, but they almost did though. Like I think there were multiple instances where China did want to make colonies.
I know under Mongolian rule, they did try to invade Japan, but that was destroyed by basically a hurricane. A typhoon.
That was the Mongols, not China. So we're going to discount that. But
yeah, well, Mongols were China.
You also consider that China forcibly assimilated and purged everyone who was not Han in their country, or at least like for the most part.
And in the case of America, which has either behind the scenes orchestrated regime changes, coups, sowed instability and division and turmoil, or has just outright invaded countries in order to impose its own specific political system. I mean, even if we were to accept the maximal extent of your accusations against China in relation to other countries, it's nowhere near the crimes, depravity, and barbarism of Anglo-Saxon so-called civilization. Now, as to the second claim regarding the Uyghur genocide, I'm going to go
So-called civilization. You're literally debating this from the United States.
In Britain, which later, brought that civilization to America, partially with the help of France and Spain, borrowed a lot of their ideas from the Greeks and the Romans. So,
yeah,
that wasn't civilized either.
Yeah,
And Greece borrowed a lot of things.
Ahead and say there is no genocide against Uyghurs within China. So if we want to pursue that specific line of argumentation and debate, we can go down that road too. Now, regarding China's recent cultural policies, banning video games and banning kind of K-pop and more promoting masculinity within its country, I think that's absolutely fucking beautiful. I think that's why a lot of people are starting to wake up and realize that China's the most based Chad country on fucking planet Earth, and I wish America was the same way.
So yeah, you basically the problem here, right? So the problem here is you mentioned that the U.S. has done interventions and all this kind of stuff too. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm an advocate of that. I'm an interventionist. I'm not going to deny that. It matters what you're intervening on behalf of. So if you're intervening to promote liberalism, democracy, and basically Western values, that's a good thing. When China goes out in the world, they prop up these regimes that they have no interest in reforming, that are basically puppet states. Like you mentioned, the debt relief. That's another tactic that they use to bring.
I do have to point out the U.S. also supported a lot of puppet states.
Yeah.
I think Saudi Arabia immediately comes to mind.
But Saudi Arabia has some influence over us with oil.
Yeah, but at the same time, but he's saying that, Kevin Castley's claiming that only China supports regimes that they don't. Only China supports no regimes that they don't really support. You say that only China supports regimes for geopolitical interests, which is really wrong.
Oh yeah, we got
Saudi Arabia again. Saudi Arabia. I'd say all the people we supported in Latin America. I would say Pinochet would probably fall under that, even though he was good for Chile, but he was a pretty awful dictator. Well, no, he was good for his country in the long run. He was a pretty awful dictator.
Good. But everything else was pretty bad.
I'd say Pinochet was good for Chile in the long run, but he was a brutal. He was a bad dictator when he was in power.
Putting these countries under their heel and to get them on their side against Taiwan and the free world.
You can't have it both ways. You can't, on the one hand, the only reason I brought up debt relief is because you're accusing China of taking advantage of vulnerable countries. So when China is actually doing the opposite, now you can go ahead and shift the tune to saying that this is a tactic to prop up puppet governments. Now you're saying that China is not reforming these countries' governments. It's not, because China is actually being true to the so-called Western democratic values of the 17th and 18th and 19th century, according to which you don't. It's the people of a country who decide their own fate, not foreigners. Foreigners are not going to decide the fate of a country. That's just the business and belonging of the people living in that country.
So where is China's other parties? Only one I know of is the Communist Party of China.
Yeah, it's pretty unlikely that many people would support one party. I mean, also at the same point, he also implies that Is he also implying that every single country's government is the way it is because the people chose it?
Some of it was just how they was formed.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I personally think that the best way of government is just to have a government that guarantees everybody's rights, and therefore
Yeah.
it's like if it's a bad if it like oversteps its boundaries, it gets removed. You don't force the people to overthrow it themselves, but like you have a mechanism to do that, or at least a precedent, instead of like just expecting everyone to overthrow the most violent and oppressive governments.
Yeah. Well, it's getting closer
But
to
like at
time
the
for
same time,
me
like
to
is he
head out.
arguing that is he arguing that every single government in these countries is somehow the will of the people and there's no corruption or anything? That is absurd.
To choose their own destiny and choose their own fate. It's not China's business to choose what government people are going to have. Now, regarding American intervention, I'm actually going to contest the claim that America has ever intervened on behalf of so-called liberalism, freedom, and democracy. It's just patently not true. In each specific case of U.S. intervention, we can locate a web of private interests. And in addition to private interests, general interests of the U.S. foreign policy in maintaining its global economic order. Now, it can cloud that in the phrases of liberty and other ideological mishmash. But the truth is that U.S. intervention, if it was premised on the basis of spreading liberal values and whatnot, there's a whole host of U.S. allies who we would have invaded, who we don't, because we don't actually care about so-called liberalism and democracy. We care about maintaining the post-Bretton Woods system that was initiated in the 1970s, which is the backbone of global order as the U.S. sees it. Now, as a final point, I know this is kind of veering off a little bit. You know, I really actually wouldn't even grant you the claim that you're a neoconservative and that this actually represents what your position is. I think, Kevin, I think you're actually an anarchist. I think you're adopting a position
Oh my God.
so utterly foreign and removed
What?
not only from the time period in which we live, but from the basic sensibilities of almost everyone who lives in this country, America, that it is akin to just get, displaying a middle finger in front of everyone around you. Like you're basically saying, fuck society. Like everyone's wrong about the neocons actually being having disastrous policies and leading us to a really bad situation. I'm actually going to be in favor of that. Well, you're really a tiny minority, and it's almost like it's kind of like a rebellion, right? It's really anarchistic. It's just, you may as well be.
Any rebellion is anarchist.
What he was proposing, what people do to their governments, is anarchy. It's anarchy to overthrow their system. So,
So were the Bolsheviks anarchists?
well, his definition, I guess so.
Yeah.
Be like a anarcho-primitivist. That's how like outlandish your position is.
Prim.
Is in relation to the current reality.
So I like the comparison to anarchy because, like, I'm an advocate. I recommend Hobbes to people. I'm a statist. Anarchists, if you haven't looked, they don't like me. They're not really fans of me. I don't call myself a neocon anymore. I use the term
I'm a statist.
liberal hawk or liberal unilateralist, or you even say like a progressive war hawk. For me, and when I'm interested in, at the end of the day, it's like obviously it's Western hegemony because, like I said, multipolarity is not. It's not stable. It's not a sustainable equilibrium in the long run. You mentioned how, well, we're going to see how it plays out now, but we can look to the past, Haz, and we can actually see how multipolarity played out before. Great example, the run up to World War I, the world was very multipolar. Power was dispersed amongst a lot of great powers. There was a lot of trade, and it led to a huge war. We can look at World War II, the run up to that.
Well, the reason that happened is because people like war was like common before that and whatever. But again, I could also bring up the example of Roman Empire and what unipolarity would end up with.
Yeah.
Like it eventually collapsed.
Well, all empires collapse.
Yeah.
Some of them do come back. There's a little bit left that can reorganize and, make gains again.
Yeah.
Well, that's I really have to start getting ready to go to work now.
All right.
I'm kind of like 6 minutes until I said I was going to be there. I probably have to message my manager and say I'm going to be a little late.
I think we're probably gonna end it here.
We could do a part 2 Thursday if you want.
I think I'm good. I might just go and like react to the later parts of the debate where it gets more crazy, and then I'm probably gonna call it.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on here, Arjun.
All right, you're welcome. See you later.
See ya.
That was
I think
multipolar.
We're gonna go a little bit later in this debate to see how it gets to.
You love
Millions, and
Muslims
you
so
deny.
much.
You,
That's why you're
deny.
supporting the Muslims in Gaza.
You deny
Yes.
this mass detention. Yet it is a thing. It is documented. There are
Because you said
interviews,
so.
and we have satellites. You took issue with the satellites, except okay, satellites don't prove anything on their own, but augmenting other evidence, they can paint a picture of what's.
You're the aggressor.
China. No. I can be against China having nukes.
Happens to Tajikistan, I don't know if I said that right, if they default on the loans issued to them by China, which they probably will.
Yeah, there's a precedent of countries defaulting on loans or just telling China they can't pay back the loans, and China works with them. China has never threatened them militarily or done anything coercive in relationship to them.
Because they can't. I mean, they just don't have the power projection that America does.
That. So there's precedents of countries defaulting on loans or just telling China they cannot pay back these loans. So there's already precedent for that. So it's probably going to be the same as those other countries.
And so they become a de facto Chinese colony. Like
No,
Sri
they
Lanka or
don't,
Kenya.
because a colony actually is when a country owns your territory and has
I'm
executive
talking
control.
neo-colonialism.
No.
So-
Okay, you're talking about, you say you defend the West when the West is the only premier neo-colonial power on earth. It's like
Oh,
France
God.
has
True.
France's
Noam
relation.
Chomsky.
Okay, so how would you describe France's relationship to West Africa?
I don't support it. Okay, well, I don't actually consider France to be much of an ally. I just want to be
Well,
clear
that's
about
part of
that.
the West.
Well,
What?
okay, they're internally sure, but outwardly they often.
Well, so apparently, I thought you were talking about the West. I thought you were talking about the West.
Dude,
France is part of the West.
Dude. Fuck France. Yeah, they're as much a part of the West as Pakistan. when it
No,
comes
they're
to their
not.
foreign policy.
Okay, so they're just as much part of the West as Canada. So I don't know what you're talking about.
That's bullshit.
Because you're not talking about the West. You're talking about Anglo-Saxon countries. You're not talking about the West. You're talking about
Canada
Anglo-Saxon
intervened in
France,
Africa.
part
When
of the
Canada
West.
intervened in Africa, it was for humanitarian interests. When
Yeah,
France-
sure it was. Sure it was. Sure it was.
I'm not
Sure
defending
it
French
was.
colonialism. I'm not.
Got him,
defending
man.
French
Gotcha. This is an
colonialism.
example of beta males
I'm
knowing
not
their place.
defending-
Beta
I'm
males
not
have to know their
defending
place.
French colonialism.
This is
France is
the thing.
different.
You know,
France is bullshit. So
Yeah.
From Stalinist Semanis, how can Kevin justify supporting Al Qaeda? How can you say you're pro-West and support the people who did 9/11 and have killed many Western people?
So about that. I'm specific here. It's not a contradiction. It's kind of like saying, how can you support the Soviets against Hitler, but you're also against the Soviets? It's like, well, we have bigger enemies to fry right now. Communist China is aiming nukes in America. Al Qaeda's not. Al Qaeda is an enemy in Pakistan. Al Qaeda is an enemy against the U.S. and Canada. Al Qaeda is an enemy in Afghanistan.
he talks
In
about the
China-
threat of nukes, and he just said he supported
They're
Operation
acting
Unthinkable,
against-
which is
they're
going to be a
acting
war of
against-
genocidal
they're
extermination
acting
against the
against
Soviet Union.
CCP,
This
which
guy
is-
said
which
he's
is the
scared of
regime
CCP
of
nukes,
nukes.
and he literally said he supported
So
Operation
look at
Unthinkable.
this.
What a
Look
complete
at how much
hypocrite!
of it- Look at how much
What a
of
complete
all this
hypocrite.
is.
Yo, how's
He has to
this?
deep throat the mic because he can't handle a serious response.
No, you got BTF.
Dude, like, at what point are you going to just sign a contract and become a porn star? Because it seems like you just enjoy deep throating objects so much, dude.
Because you need to be dominated, Kevin. Kevin, you only know the language of force. You can't be rationally negotiable with. You don't speak rationally.
You could probably
You're not
make more
a
money
rational
at
argument.
Haas.
So the only thing that works in your case is utter dominance.
Go for it, Haas.
Just like Operation Unthinkable, which you supported.
That does sound something.
Yeah, I did support Operation Unthinkable. And
right. So don't talk about the threat of China just defending itself with nukes when you're the aggressor here.
No. I'm an anti-communist.
Yeah, you're the aggressor.
No. I can be against China having nukes, but for America.
How dare China defend itself?
Double standard.
China's pointing nukes at us. But that's making it seem like China wants to do a preemptive strike and they don't want any such thing.
I'm a liberal. I'm not a communist. I'm not a relativist. I'm a liberal universalist.
Nazis.
I want liberal countries.
Ad hoc aggression
liberal countries to be empowered. Yeah. And I want authoritarian regimes to be removed from power.
Yeah, complete ad hoc against other countries.
When are you actually going to try actually listening for once?
Well, you're telling me that the guy who kept interrupting me nonstop,
dude? Because right now you're operating on
the guy who can't help but interrupt me nonstop wants to talk about when I'm going to listen.
So,
all right.
Yeah, I actually heard about this right here, by the way. But he did. It's kind of funny how he doesn't answer a question. I mean, I guess they were debating.
So, I don't know who this is, but they're writing some weird stuff to you. Do you know who this is, Kevin?
This right here. That is an account. That is an account that has spammed my phone number, doxed my phone number, spammed my phone number with harassment on numerous occasions.
No one cares.
As well as doxed. As well
no
as
one cares. No one cares.
And now
no one cares about your drama.
I am not sure about that one, but
shut the fuck up. Somebody mute Haas. This doesn't actually concern him. That wasn't addressed to Haas. Somebody
what about when you were interrupting me? You don't like when you play that game?
Mute Haas. Mute Haas.
Okay, I'll listen to Brittany.
Yeah. So I love the projection. This guy's accusing me of doing doxing. We don't do doxing in my community. This guy has no evidence. We don't do doxing. This guy and some of his friends that have spammed frivolous copyright claims against my channel are a bunch of these stupid reactionary neocon loser hawks that are pissed that there's a liberal hawk that's actually out here representing interventionism while they sit in their basement and jerk it to hentai because they have no lives and they eat mom's hot.
No.
Pocket. And going to accuse me dox when this guy is somebody who doxed my workplace, doxed my phone number, and doxed my friends' houses, and in fact tried to get one of my friends arrested. Tried to make up bullshit on one of my friends to get the SWAT team to come to his house. And now he's accusing me of doing doxing. Our community has literally kicked people out for the threat of doxing in the past. You can look that up. We actually did kick out a guy, Alex R., who threatened to dox my opponents, and we kicked him out. Even though he was trying to help me, we kicked him out because we don't condone doxing. Look at this clown child. Oh, just snoozing and boozing, snoozing and boozing, snoozing and boozing.
So from Hawk it says, Haas, do you admit that China has flaws like one child, which is leading to more old people and shrinking population?
They just recently reversed the one-child policy, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to get into Chinese people's business, but yeah, I mean, for America, I wouldn't want anything like that for America. But China was a different country; it had different developmental needs, and but they are reversing the policy, and it's not a one-child policy anymore. But yeah, there are demographic issues facing all developed and advanced countries, but I think if anyone is uniquely tasked to deal with this issue and confront it, it is the Chinese Communist Party. So I'm confident that they're going to be able to reverse their any impending demographic crisis.
I love that. It exposes the double standard where Haas is like, well, no, I wouldn't want that in my backyard, but for China, well, they have a state, so they can do.
All right, I think I'm gonna end it here. Thanks everyone for watching. I'm sorry, it's gonna take forever if I had to comment on all of this. So see you later.